Okay, Science 30. So let's continue our discussion of genetics with gender and inheritance. So you can have sex-linked traits. So traits are genes that are only passed on the sex chromosome, chromosome 23, the X and or the Y. And so this guy, Thomas Hunt Morgan, studied fruit flies, Drosophila, they're called with their proper scientific name. And he studied them because they're small, they're easily distinguishable between male and female. They have varieties of different eye colors, red and white, as you can see here. And there's a couple other things too, wing shape and stuff like that. So sex-linked inheritance is traits coded by genes located on the sex chromosomes. So those X and Y for males or the X and X for females. Sex-linked traits are almost always on the X chromosome because the X chromosome is much larger. So usually if you have a sex-linked trait, it's going to be X-linked sex-linked, but sometimes you have a Y-linked, and if that's the case, Y-linked will only ever affect males. Sex-linked on the X can affect males and females because both have the X. So if you have a Y, you're a male, so we determine sex that way. Since males only have one X chromosome, they cannot be heterozygous or carriers for sex-linked traits. So they either have it or they don't. Males have a 50% chance of having a sex-linked X-linked trait because they either have an X or they either have the trait on the X or they don't have the trait on the X. Women have XX, so they either have the dominant X, they're either big X, or maybe they're big X. So they either have the trait on the big X on both their X chromosomes, or they only have the trait on one of their X chromosomes, or they have the recessive X chromosome version for both their X's. And so they have a 33% chance, 1 in 3, right? A 33% chance of having the trait. So traits controlled by genes on the Y chromosome only affect males. So eye color, Drosophila. To support the idea that eye color is sex-linked, let's assume that eye color in fruit flies is on the X chromosome. So if big R was for red eyes and little r was for white eyes, and the Y chromosome didn't carry any information for eye color in flies, then let's write out all the possible genotypes. Well, you could be a woman, so big X, X and X, and then notice how we write these here. So if normally we would have gone like big R, little r, big R, big R. But since we're saying this trait is on the X chromosome, we now write our legend allele letters, our little letters, on top or as superscripts on our X's, or you'll see later as on our Y's. So this means that this is a woman, she's got two X chromosomes, and each X chromosome has the dominant red-eyed trait. So this is a very red-eyed fly. Now, if we look here, the females can have the big R with their X chromosome, so they're red-eyed, or they can have a big R, so they're heterozygous, they're still red-eyed, or they can have little r, but notice how, again, we write the big X's all the way through, and our alleles are written as superscripts. So now this fly has the little r homozygous recessive genotype, and so she has white eyes. The males have only one X, so they can have the big R and then their Y, so they're red-eyed. They can have the little r and then the Y, so they're white-eyed, and that's it. They don't have another option. So men or males of any species have a 50% chance, a 1 in 2 chance of having being affected by a trait. But females of X-linked chromosomes have a 1 in 3 chance of being affected by a trait, or not affected by a trait. Okay. So if we were to cross a dominant red-eyed female with a white-eyed male, we'll write our legend out just like before. So big R, little r, the parents, red-eyed female, white-eyed male, write out its gametes, do a Punnett square. So put in your male and female in the square. We like putting males on the left typically, put females on the top typically, top down, left in. So bring the X and the big R down, and the X and the little r from the male in. X and the big R down, X and the little r in. X and the big R down, Y in. That's a male. That's a male. So we've got two females, two males. All of them have red eyes. All offspring have red eyes, inherited from mom. There you go. Just put that there. Okay. The second cross. What if you crossed a heterozygous red female and a red-eyed male? Right? Heterozygous is key here because that's saying that she's big R, little r. So big R, little r, female. Big R, Y, male. And then we are going to do the square. So our male here is X big R, and he's a boy, so Y. So X big R, Y. The female, X big R, X little r. Bring the top down, left in. We got a girl who's homozygous dominant for big R. Top down, left in, but always with the dominant trait first. X big R, little r. This person's heterozygous, and this is a female. This is a male with red eyes. This is a male with white eyes. So 3 of these children are going to have red eyes. 1 is going to have white eyes. Both the girls have red eyes. 1 out of the 2 boys will have white eyes. All female offspring have red eyes. 1 male offspring has red eyes. The other has white eyes. There you go, what we just said. Okay, so conclusions between these 2 crosses. There's no white-eyed female in the first cross since the mom passed on the X big R allele to all her children. But in the second cross, you did have, there's no white-eyed female offspring are possible since the daughters inherit their X chromosomes from their fathers, whom all have the X big R. So remember, you get 1 allele from mom, 1 allele from dad. So 1 allele from mom, 1 allele from dad. 1 allele from mom, 1 allele from dad. 1 allele from mom, 1 allele from dad. And so it just depends on what you're given. And certain things will be possible or not possible based off of which parents are being crossed. So here's a practice problem. I'm going to let you pause it here. It reads, cross a red-eyed female who's heterozygous, which is important, with a white-eyed male. What are the chances they will have a white-eyed son? So there's now a male. We got a gender in there. So we got to do that probability rule where you multiply your 2 probabilities together at the end. So pause it, see if you can do it. Okay, write your legend out. Here's your parents' cross, heterozygous female, white-eyed male. Do the Punnett square, top down, left in, top down, left in, top down, left in. Figure out who's who. Got 2 boys, one's got red eyes, one doesn't. I got 2 girls, one's got red eyes, one doesn't. So the chances of having a son are 50%. The chances of having a son with white eyes, well, here, let's make this easy. Out of 2 sons, 1 out of 2 can be a son with white eyes. So 1 out of 2 is 50%. But it's saying, what are the chances of having a child or that is a son with white eyes? So you have out of 4 kids, out of the 4 kids, only 1 out of these 4 is both a male and has white eyes. Only 1 out of the 4 is a male and has red eyes. Only 1 out of the 4 is a female that has red eyes. And only 1 out of the 4 is a female that has white eyes. So either way, if you look at this, it's 1 in 4. Other cool sex-linked traits are things like colorblindness. So sex-linked traits happen more often in men, and we already said that's because they have a 1 in 2 chance of having a trait versus women have a 1 in 3 chance of having a trait. And so red-green colorblindness is X-linked. So more men are commonly colorblind than females just because it's more likely to get an X-linked trait in the male than in a female. Because, again, you have a 50% chance in a male versus a 33% chance in a female because of those 3 options that a woman can be: homozygous recessive, homozygous dominant, or heterozygous. Hemophilia is when you have trouble clotting, and it's due to an issue of a gene in the X chromosome. Okay, here's another practice problem. I'll let you pause it here and you can do it. Okay, colorblindness is a sex-linked recessive disorder. A man with colorblindness is married to a woman who is a carrier for the disorder. So there's our legend. Pick whatever letters you want. Perfect. Do your Punnett square. There's your male who's a carrier, is not affected. There's your male who has colorblindness, and here's your female who's a carrier. She's not affected. Top down, left in, top down, left in, top down, left in. Okay, letters like C are silly to use because it's hard when you write it down to see if it's a capital or a lowercase. So if you're writing this down and you picked a C or a P or something silly like that, I like to draw an underline underneath my capital letter. If you draw an underline under a letter, it usually indicates that it's a capital. So that way you don't have to keep making very obvious big C's, very obvious little C's, especially if you were writing a diploma, you don't want to make a mistake. So the probability that the first child is a normal son, well, the only son here is going to be the capital C one. So it's a 1 in 4 chance that they're going to have a normal son. And the chances of having a colorblind son is also a 1 in 4 chance, because this kid's colorblind out of 4. This son is not colorblind out of 4. Okay, the following pedigree is observed in a family which colorblindness has been observed. So what is the genotype and phenotype of individuals, generation 1, 1, and 1, 2? These two. Well, this girl is affected, so she's at big X, something. Like, we don't know if she's big X, like X big R, X big R, or if she's, or we're using C, so that's fine. So we don't know if she's, oh, sorry. So yeah, colorblindness is recessive. Yeah, my apologies. So because she's colorblindness, she's gonna, if she has colorblindness, then she has to have the X little c, X little c. She can't have a big C in there, because if she has a big C, she's going to be not colorblind. She'll be normal. This male here is not shaded in, so he is considered normal. He has 1X, and that 1X has to have that capital letter, or the dominant normal colorblindness. So colorblind is rare, right? So you know it's recessive. So I know it's going to have a little letter if I want that individual to be colorblind. What's the probability that individuals 1, 1 and 1, 2 have a daughter that is colorblind? So I'm going to do a Punnett square, basically. I'm going to do a cross, this guy on the left, this girl on the top. I'm going to do a Punnett square. If you did the Punnett square, you would find that there's a 0% chance since the father has normal vision. So dad would always give a daughter an X, and mom would always give a daughter one of her X's. Since mom only gives little C's, you might think that the girl could be colorblind, but since dad's always giving that big C, it's the only big X. It's only X he has to give is one with a big C for normal vision. He'll never have a daughter that's colorblind. He could have a son that's colorblind, but not a daughter that's colorblind. Okay. Can boys ever inherit an X-linked trait from their dad? Why or why not? So, boys inherit their Y chromosome from their dad, and they get their X-linked from mom. So no. Can a colorblind mother have a normal vision son? No, because if a mom's colorblind, like we already said, she's going to have the little c on both, because it's a recessive disorder. So she has to have both alleles, colorblindness. She's going to pass on one of those to her kid, and so she only has affected alleles to pass on to all her children. Now, think about it. Dad, whether he's normal or not, is only going to give the Y. So as soon as a colorblind mom has a son, the Y chromosome is going to come from dad, and the X is going to come from mom. The Y chromosome is going to come from dad, or the other X little c chromosome is going to come from mom. So no matter what, a colorblind woman will always have a colorblind son. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is modes of inheritance, and I have a Bio 30 video that I will add to the Science 30 YouTube channel that discusses all of this in great detail. Thanks, guys.